You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
And then he said that being married is like eating a Sour Patch Kid in reverse, which I don't even know what that means. But hey, you made it. Glad you could join us for our very first episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler
and Nuria Colby.
And Nuria, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today, we're just going to introduce ourselves and let people know what this podcast is all about.
Absolutely. So what kind of things are we going to be talking about on this podcast? What can people expect?
Well, people can expect us talking about business. That's what we've got experience in, publishing, creating a home-based business. So everything really that we have a little bit of experience in and that we can discuss and brainstorm ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who are familiar with us from both of our YouTube channels, you will hear us talking about books from time to time, but that's not all we're going to be talking about because, like Nuria said, we're going to be talking about business. And if you are self-publishing books, well, then you got a business there too. So Nuria, tell us a little bit about you for those people who don't know.
Right. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in Germany. I was born in Spain and I moved over to the UK where I am living now and have been living here since the early 80s. And I have sort of had a few businesses in my life, proper brick and mortar businesses and also home businesses, and now obviously online. And I've done everything really. I had a language school at one point where I was teaching English, French and German and to Spanish people. This was in Spain. And that started at home because we basically moved to Spain and we started a bakery, a shop. So that was another business we had. And we were selling bread and people were asking us, well, you speak English, can you teach us English? And we said, okay. And we started teaching people English on our living room table, on our dining room table. So that became a sideline to the shop. But it started growing. More and more people came to ask us if we could teach them English. And we said yes. And then there was no more space. So we decided to shut down the shop and make the teaching our full-time business. And we started that at home. And then we took over premises. We had a big school. At one point, we had over 200 pupils. So that was the first kind of, apart from the shop, that was the first big business that I had. And then we returned to the UK. I had 3 small children. So I was a stay-at-home mum and I wasn't working at the time. And then as the children grew bigger, I had several office jobs, that kind of thing. And then I started an eBay business. It started with eBay. And then it progressed onto also Amazon and Shopify. I was selling costume jewelry that I was importing from China, from India, from Thailand. And also I think we had an Etsy shop because there was some handmade jewelry involved as well. And that was back in 2010, I think. Yeah, it seems a long time ago, but actually it isn't when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it was never really my thing, if I can say it like that. It was a business. I started a business because I wanted to do something from home that I could do. I don't think it was my calling as such, because you can see I don't wear jewelry. I'm not really into those kind of things. So it wasn't my thing. And I think when something is not your thing, you don't have the enthusiasm that you could have for it.
Right.
And even though the business did well, after a while, I was looking for other things. And also I tell you why, really, because this room here that you see now full of books was just shelves, and the whole shelves were covered in boxes. I had to pack all the jewelry, so that meant having envelopes and packaging, and our house was just like a warehouse, really. And all of that, I thought there must be an easier way to make money from home. So I had a look around, and I think I did all sorts of things. I started a course that was all about how to make meditation videos, something like that. I've thought about that for a little while. Then the same person who did that made a course about how to make a course and put it on Udemy. And that was the first time I actually started making videos. I made a course about blogging because that was one of the things that I had started as well. I have a gardening blog that I started when we made over our garden. And and it just one thing snowballs into another. I think when you start something, it somehow leads you to other things. And sometimes I think back and I thought, wow, I did quite a lot of things and they all led me to this point now. And I think this point is where I am supposed to be. So as you probably know, I do low content books on Amazon KDP and also children's books. And it's just been a roller coaster, but I really love what I do now. And this is where I'm sticking. This is what I'm doing now. So quite a lot of different things that finally led me to this point. How about you, Keith?
Yeah, I think that kind of getting back to what you were saying is I think being an entrepreneur is just a mindset that you have. And because of that, it's always kind of grows from one thing to another. I can remember back probably the earliest entrepreneurial thing that I did. I don't know, probably about 9 or 10. My parents used to, they'd go bowling every Friday night. And my brother and I would get $5 to spend on the video games for each game, and they would play 3 games a night. And so, we would go, and my brother is 5 years younger than me, and probably within 5 minutes he'd have all $5 spent, and then he'd just sit there and have to watch them until the next game. And so I would spend out of the $5, I'd spend $2, and I'd pocket the other 3. And then come the next game, we'd get another $5. So by the end of the night, my brother played, spent $15 in video games that he had nothing to show for it. And I would space mine out, and I would go home with $9 in my pocket every single week. And so it just, like I said, at the age of 9 or 10, I was just always trying to figure out a way to, still enjoy things, but, how can I, maximize my profits, I guess is the best way to put it. And so my main thing is I've been writing since I was probably, I don't know, 11 or 12. I had my first it was a poem. I had it published back when I was 14, and it was my freshman year in high school. And my grandmother was a poet, and she had tons of books out there. And so right now I do self-publishing. I've got courses, I get coaching programs. I do merch and other things like that. And so those are the kinds of businesses, things that I've done. I just recently relaunched a course and it went really well. So so those are the things that I've got. Not nearly as many different business areas as you have. So that's one reason why I think this podcast is going to be such a great culmination of the two of us and the experiences that we bring from 2 completely different areas. Speaking of areas, I am in the United States, out in the Midwest now, and I've got I married my high school sweetheart. We've been together for almost 30 years, and we've got 4 kids and 2 grandbabies. So it's exciting. It's exciting. So so I'm excited to see what I know the different topics we have in mind. I'm also excited to see what other topics that the listeners come up with and and suggest to us as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing those anyway, because that's going to be a big part of this podcast, I guess. People giving us their suggestions as well. So that would be really interesting to hear.
Right. Because that's the key of any good mastermind is to not only be able to talk and give advice and suggestions, but to also listen. And even though Nuria and I are the hosts, we are not the only ones in this mastermind. Those listening and watching on the YouTube channel, you are all part of this mastermind as well. So you know what? This has been a great first mastermind here, Nuria. I want to give a big thank you to each and every one of you listeners and viewers who came to tag along with us. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, it would mean the world to us if you would follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And while you're at it, go on and leave us a review. It gives us that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. So, Nuria, what are we talking about next week?
Well, next week is a good one because we're going to be talking about starting a business today. So that's going to be an interesting topic.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds like a great one. So until next time, I've been Keith Wheeler.
And I've been Nuria Corby.
All right, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.